Hi everybody, I'm Bill Sanders and this is Watch Outside, the art and science of watch collection. Uh, the four watches I want to talk about today I call the doorstep quartet. And the reason I call it that is these four watches are for really getting into a watch collection. They're inexpensive, but I mean, if you have lots and lots of money, I can tell you some other watches. But if you just starting, you don't have a great deal of money, but you want to get some decent watches and interesting watches, this is what this video is for the doorstep quartet. Now, the first one is the Mühle Glashütte TerraSport 2. The movement, again, this is something else that's the most important, is knowing about the movement in your watch. This one has what's called an SW200-1. The company that makes this called Sellita. And then it has version Mühle. And the reason they call it version Mühle, they have a special regulator called the woodpecker neck regulation. And what it does, you have an arm. If you push it this way, it'll go faster. If you push it this way, it'll go slower. And so what they have is that they have a screw on one end and then the woodpecker pushing it inward on the other, and both of them pushing them in opposite direction. It holds the regulator very still. But when you screw the screw in, it'll push it one way, or if you loosen the screw, it'll come another way. It's a very interesting one. The MSRP on this, the manufacturer's suggested retail price, is $1,699. I found one on the pre-owned market for $687. This is what I would suggest. A lot of people say, well, you have to have and it's important to have a very high resale price. In other words, if you buy a watch, you want to turn around and sell it for what you want. A lot of people think that, by the way, and it's not a bad idea especially if you're gonna flip watches. So anyhow, but this one doesn't. But that to me is the best. That's great for collectors, because what you do, you don't buy it new, you get it at the really low resale price. Okay, this next watch is a Tissot Heritage Petite Seconde, and this watch is, for some reason, I'm still not quite sure. It's one of my favorite. I really like this watch. It has an ETA Unitas caliber 6498-1. Now, when you see something like ETA/Unitas, what happened a long time ago, the company called ETA, or ETA or ETA, bought the company called Unitas. And so a lot of people say, oh, I remember when they had that, and I had it in a pocket watch. And this particular one, the 6498, does that. But another feature of this, it's got a little regulator right on top of the balance wheel. Okay, and you can see a little stick. And if your watch runs too slow or too fast, you can go in there with a toothpick. You want to use a wooden toothpick and push it one way or the other. If it's running too fast, you push it toward the fast. That's where the issue is, and it'll slow it down. And the opposite. So you could do it yourself, and believe me, if you ever take a watch in to have it serviced, it can cost a bit. But this is a nice, simple one that you can do on your own. Now, the Seagull's 1963 chronograph. This is a chronograph. I thought, well, this would be a good watch to have. Now, this one's made in China, and this particular one is called the Seagull 1963 because the original version of this watch was the watch of the Chinese Air Force, and they needed a chronograph. And so this is a chronograph, and it has all of the chronograph elements that you need, because when you want to time something, you push the top button and then stop it with the bottom button, or they're actually called pushers. This one is 3 hertz, which is 21,600 semi-oscillations per hour. One reason I like the lower hertz, if it's running lower, it's easier to keep. It's easier, I'll put it this way, to keep out of the watch repair. Lower hertz aren't going to bring up your watch as much. There's the downside is they're not as easily made accurate, okay? And that's why you see all of the top watches with the lower hertz. In other words, they're saying, look, this is a really great watch because we did it at 3 hertz or 1.5 hertz or something like that. And so anyway, that's one of the things. Now this one, like I said, is extremely affordable. It's $325, brand new, at a place called the Long Island Watch It. And so this would be a good one. So you end up with this little collection as you started off with. You have 2 watches, one with a date window and the other one without. And one has this interesting regulator. The other one you can do with a toothpick. And this one is a chronograph. Now, the 4th member of the quartet is what is usually referred to as a GMT. The GMT is a term, it's Greenwich Mean Time. Now, if you have a watch that relates somehow to GMT, usually what it means is that it has another hand that you can use for a 24-hour hand. For example, here the time setting hand is at, is over on the 15. And so it's set for that. And you might set what's called a sleep alarm for it. And this is a mechanical version of it. Now, some time ago, I bought a watch from this particular company, which is called Perpetual. You know, it can be a little confusing, but it's in Hong Kong, and the guy has a lot of integrity. So if you buy a watch from him, you don't have to worry about the guy taking off somewhere and taking your money with you. Now, why this watch? Well, the reason for this watch is that it has the GMT, which should be called a DTZ for dual time zone. And you set the time zone with that big arrow that's over on about, let me see, it'd be about 7, 4, a little before 740 on there. Anyway, now this one's $280. Now that's what the price out of the shop is. I mean, it's a very affordable one. The thing that's nice about the Chinese watches, they're very, very affordable. So there are 4 watches that I showed, one from Switzerland, one from Germany, and 2 from China. But take a look at these for a good reason in terms of the horology, rather than, I don't know, do people notice it or not. Anyway, well, that's it for today. I got a hat. I was at the Horological Society of New York. They gave me a hat, and with an escape wheel on it. So that means it's horology, I guess. Anyway, it's a great time. I'll have a little talk about that later. Anyway, in the meantime, this is Bill Sanders for Watch Outside the Art and Science of Watch Collection, and it's an opportunity to subscribe if you like. Take care.